Hi everybody and welcome back to the Beatles, The Hidden Truth. Today we have episode 3. I'm Steve and with me today is my fellow trusted researcher and friend and brother, Rich.
Hello!
Okay, today we're going to look at the work by a researcher, an American researcher called Tina Foster. And I think we first came across her, she was on a show by Crow 777.
777.
Yeah, and that was on YouTube. And we both were very impressed by her investigative work. Her final conclusion to Paul, and indeed the Beatles, needs some careful consideration. We don't think it's too far-fetched. In fact, just before we came on air, we were actually talking about whether the Beatles were all replaced prior to '66, and we were talking about George Harrison, weren't we, Rich?
Yeah, that's right, yeah. Did it change for him from the time when he started doing his own music? Was he away from Tavistock, or was he still involved in Tavistock? Because obviously it was a breakaway from the Beatles. We don't know. We just don't know.
No, we know that in the early days George was frustrated because Paul and John wouldn't let him have any involvement in songwriting, and which frustrated him. So yeah, we were just chatting just before we came on air about whether they were all replaced. But getting back to today, Rich and myself were not quoting Tina, we're just relaying her information in our own words. So, and this topic is on everybody's lips at the moment. Even people that wouldn't talk to us a year or two ago, Rich, are now talking to us about Paul McCartney and his so-called car accident. So, but Tina believes that the car accident where he dies is disinformation. We didn't come across that word very much until we started researching Paul McCartney and the Beatles.
That's right.
And then this word props up a lot. Yes, so Tina thinks the crash theory was invented to mislead and distract people's attention to what really happened. So what did she think happened? Did she think that they were all bunked off?
Yeah, well, she does actually. She believes that they were all taken out after the on stage. What was it? The Candlestick Park, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And it was a security van that pulled up, and they were all four of them supposedly. And you've got to bear in mind, this is information that we've read. We have not seen this obviously firsthand. That they was bundled into a security van and then whisked away. And supposedly she thinks that was the last time they were actually seen alive. So,
yeah.
What do you think, Steve?
Well, we've actually seen photographs of them being loaded into the van.
Right.
And they were black and white photos, but come find out the actual van was coloured yellow. And, you know, I like to tie things together. And yellow and yellow submarine, things like that.
The yellow submarine,
yeah. So she strongly believes that they weren't seen again. She also seems to think that they could be buried somewhere in the, and then I have to sort of pronounce this correctly. Is it the Puget Sound?
No, the Puget Sound.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is off the coast and it's extremely deep.
Yeah.
You know, so if anybody wanted to go down there and try and find anything, there won't be anything there anyway. And that's on the pretense of whether that's what happened.
Yeah.
I mean, that could be a lot of money to do that kind of research. You need the proper submersibles and everything else, and also not knowing where to actually dive.
Well,
it's another Titanic, really.
No, and Tina Foster seems to think that organising a car crash in order to kill somebody was too much to organise and too much to hide, which does give an element of truth. Because it's very difficult. You know, you're talking something out of Hollywood to organise that sort of thing.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, who knows? They might have been involved. Who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, anything goes, you know. But so yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a mess. It's still there's that many different scenarios for what's happened that it's really difficult to try and pick out whether one of them's going to be right. But at the moment, we're not sure really which one it is.
Well, no.
Could have a good educated guess.
Yeah,
sure.
exactly. I mean, our minds sway to and fro. You know, the accident to them all being taken out. You know, one day there's going to be nobody left on this planet that can actually tell the story.
That's right.
And the truth will go.
Yeah.
Okay, so as we said, Tina thinks that Paul may have met his end at the Puget Sound in Seattle.
Yep.
So this is her conclusions. August 25th, 1966, at Puget Sound, Seattle, Paul was replaced, which was after the LA and San Francisco concerts. August 28th, 1966, at the press conference, it is clearly not Paul but Billy. Now I've seen this and she's 100% right.
Yeah.
That's not Paul. He's actually wearing like a floral shirt, which is very not Paul.
No. He was a traditionalist.
Yeah, he was. And he's also heard to say to a reporter, "My image is not like my image," which, you know, is sort of saying I'm not who I am.
Yeah, very cryptic.
Next, the band returns to England and photographs show the physical changes in Paul. It is announced that the Beatles would not tour again and refrain from appearing live.
Now, the reasoning that we've accepted this is that there's a significant difference between majority of the people that replace them at certain times. But with Paul and Billy is substantially bigger. He's a bigger BM. He's got more bulk. So it would have been easily have noticed unless they could have actually made the floor a bit deeper, so he stood in a hole or something. So he's a lot taller than Bio Paul McCartney.
Yeah.
And it's blatantly obvious, you can see that. Now listen, I'd just like to point this out, is that this does not take away from the sheer skills of Billy, who plays Paul McCartney. I mean, he's an incredible musician, I have to say. And he's wrote some incredible stuff, so this is not taking it away from Billy. It's just that we want the truth of what happened to Bio Paul and the rest of the boys. I personally feel that they got into something that they didn't envisage would go so pear-shaped, to be fair.
Yeah, and the contract they signed was indeed a short contract.
Yeah, I should say.
So next, the Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Heart Club Band is formed, and a funeral of Paul and the Beatles is depicted on the album cover, which, you know, you only have to look at the album cover, and it's there in front of you. Yeah. There is also pure hate between the new Paul and John Lennon. If that was John, or the new character playing John, they did not get on. They did not see eye to eye.
I don't think that was John. I mean, no disrespects. If we agree in one sense that they were all taken out, because it's blatantly obvious that they would have known if Paul was going to be taken out, as he was, they'd be wondering whether they're next. So would they have towed the line, or would it have been the case that they were just going to be taken out anyway?
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, so there you have it. I mean, this is just a short episode this week.
Yeah.
The investigation by Tina is food for thought. We have our own investigations coming up with some similar theories, one of which is whether Paul, or indeed the Beatles, are buried in the sands of the desert near Seattle. He or they would be sub of the surface, reference Yellow Submarine. We both think Tina's investigative work is some of the best we've seen, and it could be very close to the truth, but
something bothers me about all that.
Because she was a one-hit wonder as well, because she did that one program of her own, and she's made guest appearances since, and she's never stretched out other theories or other programs, which is worrying. And also, and I'm not disrespecting her, I'm just stating the facts, the book she wrote, Plastic Maca, was not a good hit with the readers. But anyway, no, when we first listened to her, yeah, we were impressed.
What worries me, Steve, is that it's gone really quiet.
Yeah.
She's gone really, really quiet.
Yeah.
And also Nick Chyack as well, he's disappeared off the face of the earth.
glad you just brought that up, because he literally started this ball rolling for us in the investigative work, and not heard or seen of him since.
Yeah, so we don't know. Mike from Sage of Key, sorry, when I get my words out, he's not said anything about him, or we've not seen anything of him on there, have we, as well? As a young lad, he's only a young lad, so...
Yeah, we don't know. What were their cards marked? You know, were they told, you know, hey, that's as far as you go with this subject, you stop right there, which is a possibility. Just before we sign off on this episode, in our next episode, we've got Ringo Starr's admission to an American newspaper. That's in the next episode. Just to finish this off, we're going to recommend a book for you all to read if you want to start this journey of investigating. It's by Nicholas Collerstrom, and I'll spell that for you. It's Kollerstrom. He's an English author. The book is called The Life and Death of Paul McCartney and is available to buy at Amazon. We've both read it twice, and it's got some great informative writing in there, and you'll learn a lot, a hell of a lot. We also like the style in which it's written. It's very easy to pick up and read.
Yeah, it's very good.
I've looked up the price of this book today, and you've got to remember that I wrote this script about a year ago, so the price is going to be thereabouts. So it's about £12.95 in English money, about $15.23. It's also available as a Kindle book, and is priced at $3.55 or $4.18. Yeah. We've read a lot of books on this subject, yeah, and we will, of course, recommend more in other shows. Yeah. We've got a question from a fellow workmate, Shane Nichols of Penzance, and he came up with a very good question, and he asked which album, if Paul was replaced, which album was the last album that Paul sang on?
Well, it's got to be Rubber Soul, I'd say, or part of it, or before even Rubber Soul, because that's definitely not Paul on the album cover of Rubber Soul, that's for sure.
Well, this is something we was talking about before we came on air. I think it's possibly Help, the album Help.
Help could have been the last one. Yeah.
Because Rubber Soul, there's a definite change in the way the music is constructed. Yeah. And that album cover is definitely not Paul McCartney on the front. And also what they were signifying with the different shapes and that doesn't actually, I think it's down to Aleister Crowley, that, and Thelema and things of that nature. So they're, what do they call it when they do the different signs? Anyway, yeah. It's wrong. Yeah. So it's absolutely wrong, and they reckon it's from the like I say, Thelema, you know, the Golden Dawn, if you wish. Crowley's new religion. Crowley's, considering that there's a possibility that he, Billy was somewhere related to Aleister Crowley. We've done quite a lot of research into Aleister Crowley, even to visit one of his houses. So. Yeah. But there's something here that's been bothering me for quite some time. I think it's about right to go into it now. And it's the JFK thing. Paul was heavily involved in the JFK, and he wanted the truth on that as much as we're searching for the truth of Paul and the rest of the Beatles. I mean, I was born in the 50s, Steve in the early 60s. You know, we grew up with them. I mean, I was gigging around doing the Beatles for years. But I think that when Paul got involved with the JFK thing, if indeed he did, I mean, we're surmising by evidence that we've seen. Well, that is a complete and utter mess. Yeah, because he offered to write the score for the film. That's right, he did, yeah. Free of charge. Yeah. Which, that was Paul's. So, and that he was gutted over that. Yeah. Absolutely gutted. So, yeah, Paul and John were big influences on the young. The Americans wanted to keep the Vietnam War going. JFK didn't. All around him did. So, yeah, something had to give, and we know what did give. Yes.
In 1963, I was the 2nd of November 1963.
Something like that.
That was when the whole world, and especially America, were finished. Really, when JFK was killed, that was it. That was it for America.
Yeah.
You know, and it's either possible that Paul's involvement in the JFK, he got too close or something of that nature, and
or they just didn't feature in the future plans of the Beatles. We don't know. Yeah. But the more you uncover, the more questions you have. But
well, they were a product, weren't they?
They were a product.
So
same as the Monkees.
The product
yeah,
time they
exactly.
It.
It's a brand name. Yeah. You know, so it's a brand name. So, you know, it's very much like Curry's. If, you know, Curry's gets taken over by another company, they still sell the same things. They still do the same things. Yeah. It's just, you know, fronted by a different company.
But it's all we're doing is that what we want is, because of who we are and where we came from in relation to up through the 50s and the 60s. I saw the Beatles in Germany, coming off the plane when I used to live in Germany. And we just want the truth.
Yeah.
I mean, everything is so messed up, it's beyond belief.
Yeah.
But if we can actually get one thing that we, in fact, it's bringing it into two with the JFK thing. But, and I don't think the truth will ever be found out about that. I think the truth is buried so deep. I know I'm slightly diverse. It's beyond belief. Yeah. But I think it's connected. It's all connected. There's no separation on any of it. Everything is connected.
Yeah.
People need to realise that. Yeah, it's... we will get there, I think.
Well, we're hoping so. It's taken quite a bit of our personal time, our own personal money, etc., in what we've done so far. And if you're interested and you want to ask questions, then by all means, just drop us a line in the email. Coming up soon on YouTube, and I might even post it on Spotify because they do videos now. We're going to put our paranormal night at Aleister Crowley's abode in Cornwall, and Fab 2 Investigations, that is. Yeah. So I think that's it for this episode. You got anything else, Rich?
Yeah, it's just short and sweet, just to let everybody know that we are still here, but some mitigating circumstances, family and everything, has sort of like put it on ice for it. But now we're back, and we're hoping to get through this as quick as possible. We may never ever find out the definitive answer of what happened to Paul and the rest of the boys, to be fair, because I really do believe it's highly possible that they were all taken out.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the only way that they could keep it and then start again with another team that looked very, very much like it.
Yeah, all about control.
You need to be, like Mike says on Sage, you need to be a very critical thinker. Yeah. Once you get there, you'll see everything. You'll see it all. It's getting there because we've come to accept certain things as being gospel. In other words, a narrative, which we know, Stephen and myself know, that the narrative is not always what it appears to be.
Okay, well, I'm going to say bye-bye until the next one. Are you bye-byeing? Or?
Yes, I'm going to say bye-bye. Yeah, just bear with us. If you want to make any comments. Now, we're not going to stand for stupidity. No. You know, we're trying to search for the truth as much as a lot of other people are. We are not on our own. So please make your thoughts kind. Try and have a bit of an influence on... give us information if you have it. That would be absolutely incredible. It'd be nice to put one thing to bed, but I fear that it's going to be not so easy a ride.
Yeah. Okay, thanks everybody for listening, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye for now.
Bye-bye.